The importance of Kara to the Big Four agenda is so, so important. And also very topical at the moment because, you know, we are now big on riparian demolitions, which is really something that disturbs my heart. But there's just something before we talk about the way forward that we need to talk about, and that is your role that you play and should continue playing in terms of ensuring that there's order and that there's not all these illegal developments that are coming up. Because as government, I think if there's anybody that had any doubt in their mind that we mean business, I think they will not take a chance. But we don't want to make this a government agenda. It is not a government agenda. It is our agenda. And why has government taken the painful decision of having to break down some multi-billion shillings investments? Now, you are homeowners association or resident association. I had the privilege of living in South Africa for 19 years. And I don't know how many of you have been to South Africa. Most of you haven't. No? All right, I didn't get the joke. All of you? Oh, great. Fantastic. So at least I'm talking to people that have a little insight as to, organized communities. And the biggest defenders of our bylaws, planning laws, are the homeowners associations. In South Africa, they are very powerful. And I can tell you, of course you'll find rogue stuff coming up here and there, but it is not the same as here. Because the resident associations are so strong. And so my challenge to you is that double down on your efforts. These illegal developments that are coming up, they have not done traffic studies. They've not done studies to talk about the services that are there. And so we competing for space, services, small space because of illegal approvals. And so it is a big opportunity for you right now because you have a friend in government. Talk to us, partner with us, sensitize the communities, because when someone grabs a playing field, that is a chance they're denying our kids. When someone puts up a building and you can see that the PDP, whatever they prescribed as the number of stories, it is you they are denying. They block your sunshine, they block access. And so what we have right now, especially in our urban areas, is chaos. And so we need to fix some of the things in the past. This country is a great country. I can tell you that for a fact. What we don't know is how great we are as a country. And you need to go outside the country and just experience what some of us are doing out there. Great stuff. Kenyans are unique people. I've had the privilege of traveling around, and I've met Kenyans that are doing great stuff. Now, the one thing that challenges me is when we come back home, something happens. Out there, we project excellence. When we come back here, we project mediocrity. In fact, we've embraced mediocrity as okay. Let me give you a few examples. Because I said no speeches, I want to talk to you, right? So I'm in charge of public transport too. Maybe some of you don't know that. Yeah. Right. So I'm in charge of public transport. And when I came in, I've seen a lot of studies that we have done. As a matter of fact, there's something that you've been hearing about called BRT, right? I'll tell you a nice story right now. Well, a sad story, actually. BRT, we have 69 studies and counting. Because there are studies going on right now. There's a feasibility study. Then we harmonize it. We disharmonized it. Now we are merging them. And I don't know now we need to, hello. What feasibility do we need to do about traffic in Nairobi? All of you get affected by the congestion. The best feasibility is get on with it. Just do it. Make mistakes if we have to, right? But get it done. Now, a very sad story is told about a team from Nairobi County. And we love traveling, benchmarking, per diem. Myself, I've really traveled a lot this year, and I think it's a matter of time before I get nicknamed the traveling PS. So the group from Nairobi County in the transport department went to Bogota. Now, Bogota is the right place to go because it is the home of BRT. Right? Wrong. It's not. So they get there and they look at this system on dedicated lanes, thousands of buses that is moving 1 million people an hour. Million people. And they get amazed and bamboozled. And they said, this is what we need for Nairobi. Right? So they say, look, we are sold. We are converted. What we need you Colombians to do, this is called the Trans-Milano. I've visited Trans-Milano. It's amazing. What we want from you is, can you please give us the master plans? Right? We want the master plans. Because, now we have a new government order. We want to execute. So the Colombians look at them and they say, no. You actually have the plans. So they said, no, but just hold on a second. You may be not in with the times in Kenya because we have a new constitution. And this new constitution has devolved things, right? So you might have hosted Kura or Kenha, right? And engaged them. And I said, no. Yes, of course we have engaged Kura. They came here for benchmarking. But that's not what we're saying. Saying, okay, but who do you give the master plans? And they said, back in the early 80s, when we, the Colombians, made up our mind that we want to do public transport system that functions, we went on a benchmarking activities exercise all over the world. And at the time, we were told that Nairobi has the best public transport master plans in the whole world. So they came here to study. They took our plans. The difference between them and us is both of us we've got something, right? They have a world-class BRT system, and we also have a world-class BRT system. The difference is ours is based on paper. And that is a sad part. Because since the 1980s, we have not executed. So what is it that has handcuffed us? Poor politics, business interest that surpasses public good, corruption, and bankruptcy of ideas. But the bankruptcy of ideas, it just seems to be a demon that is manifest here. Because when you go out there, we are not bankrupt of ideas. Before I came here, I implemented 3 BRT systems in South Africa. I know a gentleman called Uncle Fred in Dallas, Texas. Dallas Airport is one of the biggest airports in the world. Yeah. Thank you. Uncle Fred. Were you there last month? When you go next time, look for Uncle Fred. Good. Uncle Fred designed one of the most complex control towers. And here, we're talking about a second runway. We're talking about a greenfield terminal. We just talk. The other day, before I leave the topic of public transport, because they're somehow interlinked with housing. And in the president's wisdom, he said, look, if you're going to put up these 500,000 houses, you must figure out how you're going to move the people. Because we don't have enough space in Nairobi. So we're going to build out, right? And if we have to redevelop what we have, that is okay. But how many houses can we be able to redevelop? How many people do we have to displace so that we can build the houses? So it's important for a country to come together, for the public to come together and say no to mediocrity. We have traffic lights that work in this city. You read a statistic that says the ratio of police to the public, we are below the benchmark or whatever they call it, right? Yet you have policemen, 4 of them at each roundabout. As a country, we need to have a serious dialogue. And it is a high time, because what we have right now is an appointment with destiny. We have a shot at fixing these problems. Now, they are not going to be easy. The business interests are too much. The other day, you might have seen an article. And because it is, you guys call them cartels, right? They are so entrenched. They have infiltrated our 4th estate. And so what you get fed on, even as the public, is just all the bad things. And so we've reached a point where we just don't think there's anything good that happens in this country. And of course, there's a lot of bad things. But what happened to journalism that is patriotic? Why would you want to report a lie? Why can't you do your homework? Why don't you call the PS? I'm the most accessible PS. So the other day they wrote, and they made us look very bad. And what they ended up doing is derail the advent of BRT in Kenya. Why? They wrote a silly article and said Kenya is now importing buses from South Africa, while Kenya is exporting BRT buses to Tanzania. And so Kenyans on Twitter trolled us, and they made us look bad. And it is a flat lie. Business interest, personal interest that surpasses the public good. Now, this association and organization is an association that we want to empower, but we seek partnership with you so that we call them out. It is you as residents. You are more than us. You're more than them. Rise up, and we take them on. And I can tell you, there is no one today that doubts that we can take down any building. There's no doubt. So, I want to partner with you. Call on these people. And some of them are still constructing. And why riparian? Why riparian? Now, I saw the other day, I was in Parliament, because also there are stories. But we must be frank about these things. And they were saying, no, the same Waitito theory, right? Move the river. Now, and we're having a conversation, right? Yeah. Good. So, why is riparian important? Why are wetlands important? This part of Nairobi here, when we have heavy rains, what happens? It floods. And why does it flood? Because somebody down the road has built on a wetland. They tried to divert the river, then they blocked it, then some of them say they put a canal. And then when you take about all the other bad habits, where we throw rubbish into the rivers and all other manner of garbage, it goes and blocks the canal. So what happens? It floods. So, you have invested great amount of money doing the right thing. Your stuff is damaged, your cars are damaged, people die. Why? Because of business interest. People in this country have gone to, and you know it, they build on top of sewer lines. Come on. Come on. So, and others are just connecting the sewer line straight to the river. That's how low we've gone. And yet, out there, Kenyans are doing marvelous stuff and great stuff. So for me, it is not an issue of we don't have the capacity. It is a matter of being determined and saying enough is enough. And then join us. Join hands with us as we take on this war. It is a difficult war. We are prepared to stay the course, but partner with us. And I know in the process, shenanigans are going to come up. So funny people will come and say, no, your building is illegal. And then they mark it from National Construction, I don't know, from NEMA. But if you have a strong association, you become an advocacy group. And we, as government, we will not like to demolish anything without, first of all, maybe talking to Kara and talking to the other associations. Right? So that is the kind of partnership that we seek. Because if you and us stand together, we're going to be much more stronger than them. And we will take them on, and eventually we shall win this country back to us. Because this country belongs to us. Now, another time you can call me and I can tell you about riparian, and whether it's 6 meters, there's a judge here. The Constitution has even thrown this whole my friends, let me tell you, it's an interesting conversation that we need to just come and have a nice discussion about it. But if you're going to put up any construction in urban areas, just read everything, including the fine print. Because even if you get NEMA approval and WARMA approval, it's a conditional approval. It says that you must still comply with all other laws. Right? So, those who are saying, no, but I got a NEMA approval, I got a WARMA approval. NEMA's concern is the biodiversity and health of the river and the ecosystem. WARMA's interest in the river is the health of the river. The act that you need to follow if you're putting up any building is a Fiscal Planning Act. And now the Constitution, let me just end this part of my engagement with you on Article 64, that now says that the distance between the high and low watermark, listen to this, when it floods. You know, previously we said 10 meter, that's what the Physical Planning Act says, right? Okay, so it's 10 meters. And 30 meters maximum. 64 is now talking of the distance between the low and high watermark when it floods. And now they've said that is public land. That is what the Constitution says now. And I know we don't have to look at it retrospectively, but that is now the Constitution. So be careful. The other thing is we cut corners. And we don't want to pay a good professional consultant to advise you. Do your due diligence. Now, let's talk about the nice things. And I'm expecting, Bwana CEO, that we are going to receive comments on the development framework guidelines for the affordable housing from yourselves, because the whole essence was for us, first of all, as government, to put together a plan, and then we've submitted that plan to you, and we want to hear from yourselves and tell us whether this plan is going to make sense. But, and also the regulations, please don't tell us that the tax or the contribution, that is history. Now let's talk about this contribution. How is it going to progress this country? Now, it is very important that I talk to you about that, because I'm a banker, right? I'm an investment banker by profession. So I understand money, and I know how capital behaves. Capital does not wait for you to make up your mind, right? If you're dithering around, it goes. It loves certainty. And so, to put 500,000 houses in the next 4 years, we require $13 billion. Now, you know, and there's a lot of debate. No, Kenyans own their own houses. They like to rent. Kenyans don't like to rent. Kenyans can't afford to own. The ratio of rent to mortgage in this country is 1 to 6. In South Africa, where I stayed 19 years, is 1 to 1. A country with almost the same population as South Africa, of course, not the same GDP, but a serious GDP. You know, we're a serious country, right? We have 25,000 mortgages. And 17,000 of them are bank mortgages to their employees, which are not market-based. And a few thousand of them I'm the principal in charge of the civil servant mortgage scheme. So we give our civil servant mortgages at 5% interest. So those are not market-based. And for you, you've been left on your own. So when we talk about 92% of Nairobians rent, is it that they rent because they like to rent? Is it they rent because they can't afford to buy? They cannot afford to buy. And so, quickly, there are 4 things that have brought us to where we are in what we describe as unaffordable and unavailable. So indulge me very quickly, not very long, because I also have to go. So that's a good motive, but my voice is behaving a little bit. So the first one is land. Land in this country is obscenely expensive. As a matter of fact, they say that land in Nairobi is the most expensive in the continent. The other day, in Upper Hill, just across from where I work, they sold an acre for 1 billion shillings. 1 billion shillings, my friend. A few years back, some people bought an acre for 5 million. Upper Hill. Around here, Westlands, some places, Riverside, it's in hundreds of millions. So we cannot talk about affordability where the cost of land makes up 40 to 60% of the total cost of the development. We can't talk, that means we are only going to address for the high end. And that is what we've been doing. As a matter of fact, and we have really done our homework, and just indulge, that document indulges on the numbers, but I think you'll realize, there's something different about this government. There's an element of excellence, and not just blowing our own trumpet. 250,000 is our housing demand a year. 80,000 is for the high end. That is for the 3% of this country. Meaning 170,000 is for everybody else. The supply, what you and the developers are supplying to the market today, you at least are doing, based on the statistics, you're doing 49,000 out of 80 for the high end. Now, for most of you, I know you're A students, but 49 out of 80 is a pass, right? So, not too bad. For the lower end, out of 170,000, we're doing 1,000. Not 100,000, please. 1,000. Now, if you're a student, that is not a fail. You just never showed up. Right? You just never showed up. It can't be helped, right? So you can then see that where we're coming from a very difficult position. No wonder 65% of our people in urban areas live in slums. Because we are not just producing enough for the majority of our people. And one of the reasons is the cost of land. So what are we doing about it? Because we have got to do something. Quickly, one, there's a bill in Senate called Land Value Index. That has got to be passed to normalize our pricing for land. Two, we need to embrace mixed-use development so that when you build high-end, also build for the lower cadres. Because if you don't, they will build anyway. Ni kweli? Next door. Na mkijaribu kuwatoa ni kelele. Now you're forced to put high walls and all those things, and every 4 years, 5 years in this country, we burn. We burn as a country. Why do we burn? It's not because of tribalism. Forget about that. There's only 2 languages in this country. The haves and the have-nots. Yeah. And when you have 97% of people that do not feel that they have a stake in this economy, no matter what you do, every 5 years it just takes one foolish guy to go tell them, incite them and tell them all these things. And they have no sense of entitlement. They have no sense of ownership. That is why, as Kara, you must support this program of ensuring that as many Kenyans become homeowners. Because someone who owns something knows its value, will never go stone and burn stuff. Number 2 is the cost of construction. So what are we doing about the land? The last one is, as government, we also own a lot of land. And because of indecisions and other many things, that land has been left bare for many years. And anything that is left in a vacuum, what happens? Grabbed, occupied. And when we chase them, for those of you who read the good book in the Bible, it says when you chase one demon, 7 more come. Because there's still emptiness. Because emptiness begs for occupation. So we want, first of all, to be in control of our own destiny. So, and this is very important that you listen, because it's a beautiful agenda. So as government, so that to show we are very serious about this agenda, we have identified land across the country. Whether it's owned by national government, owned by our state corporation like Kenya Railways and Prisons and KBC. All these guys own a lot of land. Or owned by counties. We've identified strategic land. At the moment, almost 7,500 acres across the country. Not one place, across the country. That we are putting out forth. And let me just make a very quick disclaimer. This affordable housing is not about government building houses. It's not about government becoming a developer. No. It is us enabling the private sector to do what you do best. I think that deserves a clap. So we package the land, but we also know that if we don't service that land, it still remains expensive, right? So whose responsibility is it to service? So our model says, let he who is best placed to take certain responsibilities, take them. Let he who is best placed to take certain risks, take them. So we as government are best placed to take the responsibility of building the bulk infrastructure. You have a lot of land that is available. All you're begging for is a road and a sewer line. And the rest you will do. And you will build for the right price and for everybody else. So, as a matter of principle, passed by cabinet, we are taking this land, we are making it available to you as developers at no cost. Then we are servicing it on top of that. And if you service it, because maybe you say you're going to take a long time to put the water and the whatever, if you do it, we sit down and work out a plan. I give you what is called an accelerated tax allowance. What that means is that I help you to create a tax loss. So you don't pay taxes for a long time until you recover your money. That is also good. Very well. Number 3, or number 2, we have identified that the cost of construction in this country is too high. Part of it is because we have a building code that is probably older than all of us in this room here. 1947, I think that is when the building code was put there. So, we are embracing new technologies. I received a proposal the other day about 3D printing. And I can't wait for the weekend to go read about how this 3D printing is going to work. Then the other thing that we have embraced is alternative building techniques, but also industrial building techniques. So we have standardized these affordable houses. There's no need of a social house to be different in Mombasa and Homa Bay. Let it be the same. Why? Because we want you, if you're using prefabrication, precast, if you've set up a plant, print them, make them, because there's a market. We've standardized doors and windows as well, right? So that our Juakali people who normally make doors, you know, here, what is the size of a window in Kenya is a space that is normally left when you build. So now we have standardized the window. Ukisha tengeneza nyumba unabakisha space, alafu unaita fundi, pima. Ni kweli? So we've standardized them now, right? So that pale Kamukunji, now they can build, so you can just go and buy. Now, what we've also done is 39 laws and processes that are in conflict with the agenda. We have put 39 laws to be amended. Talk to us. Tell us which laws, because you are the one who knows where the shoe pinches most. So next year we'll amend more. Talk to us, tell us. Because we can't be talking about affordable housing. Let me give you one example. We can't be talking about affordable housing. Then I see there's a moratorium on logging. And then we have increased taxes on timber. It doesn't make sense. How can we then talk about affordable? Because we can't get our own timber here. And then from outside it's more expensive. So those are some of the laws because of different agencies that we want to harmonize just to make sure, okay, it is easier for you. Lastly, and most importantly, is the financing. On the funding side, we are tackling this beast on the supply side and the demand side, because we have problems on both sides. Yeah. The statistics I said where you're doing 1,000 out of 170 is a problem on the supply. Why? Because I don't think any one of you here, unless you're a philanthropist, you'll go buy houses and expect people in Kibera to come and buy them, right? No. Not going to happen. Now, 97% of formerly employed Kenyans earn less than 100,000 shillings.
Much below.
Much below. Majority, 72%, earn between 15 and 50,000 shillings. So there is no chance of these people ever owning a house. So we need to do a few things. One, we've established 2 institutions. One is called Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, and now the infamous Housing Fund, or National Housing Development Fund. Now, what we need as a country is to look at countries that have fixed this problem, because there are people who have fixed them. Now, let me give you one example. I have many, but just one. Take Singapore. Our politicians like to tell you about Singapore during election times. But you know one thing they don't tell you is 1967, right? When our economies and GDPs, I think, were almost the same, growing at the same rate and same size. We enacted a Housing Act, Cap 117, that envisioned a housing fund. It is there. So this fund, Maneno, we are talking about, it's not Mwaura who's come from South Africa with a brilliant, don't give me that credit. It's been there since 1967. Singapore did the same thing. The difference, just like the BRT story, we have gone to Singapore to benchmark, to study, and all those things. Eat and party and come back and do nothing about it. But what did Singapore do? Singapore determined that for you to be able to build houses for everybody, you need 3 things. A little sacrifice. In fact, for them, it was a lot of sacrifice, which opens up investment in terms of equity, and then debt flows. You become like the hottest chick, hottest girl, because everybody wants you, right? Now, what did Singapore do? 22% of your payroll, you, as an individual, went into a central provident fund. The employer was forced to put 17%. Now, in Singapore, when you leave college and you get employed, all you need is a pay slip and you have a house. So, and go to Mexico, they contributed. Nigeria, they did. Of course, there was corruption issues. Chinese did it at 5%. So, the people that have done it recognize that there is value in a collective contribution. Now, we've asked you for a very small sacrifice. As we calculated the other day, I'm asking you to just give up 10 beers a month. Just 10 Tuskers, right? Or 1 cognac a month, right? And for those of you who don't take hard liquor, it is 5 Cokes. That's all. And it is good for your health too. Now, that contribution into the housing fund, what it has done, and because it's mandatory, and we needed to make it mandatory. Let me tell you, because I know a lot of you are asking, why I've got 5 houses, why? So, what we said, we needed certainty of cash flows coming into a pot that is clear. Remember what I talked about capital. Capital loves certainty. Right? And if now, and I can tell you the number, just based on only the people who are paying taxes, that contribution is going to be 6 billion shillings a month. Now, what people don't know is that for you to be a beneficiary of this program, you need to contribute. So the involuntary contributions, I don't even know how much it's going to be, so we can't wait to start seeing how much it's going to be. Number 2, the president then said, look, the 3% will complain a lot. So what do we do? Let's give them a relief. So what you don't know is that 3 months ago, you were given an opportunity to raid KRA. It's not your money to raid KRA. Take 9,000 every month. 9,000 is more than the 2,500 maximum. Put it in your wallet. All right? Towards a house. So that's government giving you another 9,000. Most of you didn't know that.
Not me.
You didn't. Now you know. You're not educated. And so, all this money is coming into a central fund. What happened is when investors, and they are coming in drones, and I can tell you this week alone, we had them coming from Turkey, we had them coming from America. In fact, 2 groups from America. Chinese are here. Why? Because now you have become that hottest girl, like in Singapore in 1967. Right? Because there is certainty of cash flows. So what we are telling the investors, bring your money, bring your execution capabilities, partner with our people here back home, talk to us, right? We give you land, we give you services, we give you fast-track approvals, and build the houses. The day you finish building them, don't sell them, because you complain about Wanjiko. The fund buys the houses from you. So you exit. So in the development framework guidelines, we have published ceiling prices. So if you can be able to develop for the right market, there's business for you. But we do that and do one last thing as I end, which is called an investment into an economy that is slowed down. You all know. And it's not magic the way China has grown. China has grown because of construction. Construction in housing is labor intensive. For every one house, we have an estimate, our economic model shows we need 3 to 5 new jobs. So take your kids to TVET colleges. They're more artisans than engineers on site. For every $1 invested, it's going to create 3 more. So that has got to be seen as an investment. That means wages are going to rise up for everybody. Incomes are going to rise up for everybody. Profit, and you know construction cuts across logistics. So think about all the secondary cement. We are negotiating better prices for you from our local cement suppliers because of large economies of scale. I'm able to guarantee them. They've told me in return they will lower the prices. I have bargained with the Association of Architects and told them, I want you to design a lot of these houses, but I want you to have your fees. And they've accepted. This is the transformative power of this particular program. The last 8 months being in this government have been challenging, coming from private sector into public sector, have been challenging, but fulfilling. We are committed. When I go to Mudhurwa and Mukuru kwa Jenga, and I see another little girl, and her face, the blank look in her eyes betrays her. She's seen too much because of the way they live. They live with uncles in one room. They've been exposed to sex at very early age. So when we talk about decent housing, it's not just about 4 walls and a roof. And so for a sacrifice of 10 beers and 5 cokes, what we are doing as a country is fixing a wrong that has perpetuated for very many years. We are correcting that wrong. And even if you don't become a beneficiary of this housing as an individual, first of all, you'll get back your money at some point. Right? You will get it. Not beyond 15 years. And if you retire, you get your money back. Right? You will get your money back. But those Kenyans that we are talking about, they also have faces. There's a common bond that you and them have. You never chose where to be born. They never did either. So it is our duty. They have faces, they have dreams, they have aspirations, and they have hopes. So this program, not only are we going to build the houses, but we are going to provide dignity to majority of our people. And that means you will also be able to enjoy the wealth that you have worked so hard for, because this country will have started to fix our ills. So thank you very much. God bless you. Join me in this journey as we change the face of this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.